Zyra had never seen anyone quite like him before. The new student arrived on the first day of the semester, carrying himself with quiet confidence, though it was clear he didn't understand much about the academy yet. The Intergalactic Academy was no ordinary school. It was a place where young beings from dozens of planets learned science, technology, diplomacy, and strategy. Some students had tentacles instead of arms. Others had luminous skin that changed color with their mood, and some could even manipulate small amounts of energy. Yet here was a human boy, tall but fragile-looking, walking into the hall as if he belonged. Zyra tilted her head and studied him as he made his way to his assigned seat. His brown hair was messy and his eyes, dark and wide, scanned the classroom in a mix of curiosity and nervousness. He didn't seem afraid of the other students, which Zyra found strange because most humans, she had been told, were fragile and unremarkable compared to her peers. Another human, she muttered under her breath, her tone a mixture of amusement and disbelief. She leaned back in her chair, flicking one of her tendrils in a casual gesture. Humans were rare at the academy, and this one looked like he hadn't even stepped into zero gravity before. Zyra's curiosity was already turning into mischief. The class began, and the instructor, a tall being with iridescent scales that shimmered like sunlight on water, welcomed the students. Today we will explore the fundamentals of interstellar navigation. You will work in groups, combining your skills to chart a course through simulated asteroid fields. Zyra's eyes immediately found him again. The boy's name tag read Ethan. He looked around nervously, clearly unfamiliar with the high-tech equipment in front of him. Zyra decided silently that she would make his first day memorable. As the instructor moved through the classroom, Zyra raised her hand. "Excuse me," she said, her voice smooth and slightly teasing. "Can our new human friend even reach the controls? They're designed for beings with more than 2 fingers. A few students snickered. Ethan froze, then gave a small, polite smile, not responding to the jab. Zyra felt a strange thrill at the sight. It was rare to see someone react without immediate embarrassment, even if awkward. "Don't worry," the instructor said kindly. "Ethan has been briefed. Humans are adaptable. You'll see." Zyra rolled her eyes, deciding this was even more fun than she had anticipated. She spent the rest of the class observing him, waiting for him to stumble. He touched the holographic controls hesitantly at first, fumbling slightly as he adjusted to the zero-gravity setting, but he quickly adapted. In minutes, he was moving the simulation ship through the field, slow but careful. Zyra felt a mix of annoyance and curiosity. Humans, she had always believed, were simple, fragile, limited, and yet this one, though slow, showed patience, precision, and thoughtfulness. Her amusement shifted slightly into a challenge. Could he really be as weak as everyone said? During the break, Zyra floated over to him, using her personal gravity control to drift effortlessly in his direction. "You know," she began, her tone light but pointed, "most humans don't last a day here without falling over or breaking something." Ethan looked at her, meeting her gaze. "I'll try not to," he said calmly, his voice quiet but firm. There was no fear, no defensiveness, just calm determination. Zyra blinked, slightly taken aback. Most beings here would have reacted with panic or arrogance, not quiet confidence. "You're lucky the instructor likes you," she said, a teasing smile on her lips. "Otherwise, you'd be in trouble already." He smiled faintly, and for a moment Zyra thought she saw a spark of humor in his eyes. That made her grin. "I like a challenge," she whispered to herself. The next exercise required students to maneuver in teams. Zyra was immediately paired with Ethan and a few other students from different planets. Zyra couldn't resist the opportunity to tease him again. "Be careful not to crash us, human," she said lightly. The others laughed, but Ethan didn't flinch. He simply nodded and focused on the task. As the exercise began, Zyra noticed something unusual. While the other students relied on speed, flashy moves, or their innate abilities, Ethan observed the course, thought about each movement, and executed each step with care. He wasn't the fastest, but he made almost no mistakes. Zyra felt a strange sensation, frustration mixed with admiration. She had expected him to fail, and yet here he was, quietly succeeding where others had rushed and faltered. By the end of the exercise, the team completed the course with fewer errors than anyone else. Zyra felt a flicker of unease. "How's he doing this?" she muttered. Later that day, Zyra decided to learn more about him. During lunch, she hovered nearby as he ate, noting the way he handled his utensils, the calm way he observed the cafeteria full of alien students, and the polite nods he gave to anyone who accidentally bumped into him. He seemed simple, yet there was something different. "Do you always move so slowly, or is today special?" she asked, floating down beside him. Ethan looked up, slightly surprised. "I like to think carefully before I act," he replied. There was no sarcasm, no embarrassment, just honesty. Zyra tilted her head. Most beings here prided themselves on speed, reflexes, or power. Humans, she had been told, had none of that. Yet this one seemed to possess a quiet strength she couldn't understand. Zyra couldn't resist one last tease. "Careful, human. If you keep moving like that, you might actually succeed. I wouldn't want you to ruin my fun." Ethan chuckled softly, a sound so light it almost blended with the hum of the station. "I don't think ruining your fun is my goal," he said. The rest of the lunch passed quietly. Zyra floated away at the end, but her mind was buzzing. She realized that teasing him wasn't as simple as she thought. Each time she tried, she noticed something remarkable. He didn't react the way anyone expected. No fear, no anger, no embarrassment. Just calm, thoughtful responses and steady progress. As the day ended, Zyra watched Ethan leave the classroom. He moved deliberately, careful of his steps and the way he handled objects around him. She wondered if the stories about humans being weak were wrong, or if this one human was different from the rest. Either way, she knew she hadn't seen the last of him. That night in her quarters, Zyra thought about the boy. She usually didn't care much about her classmates beyond teasing them, but something about him was different. Maybe it was his calm confidence, maybe it was his patience, or maybe it was something she couldn't quite name. She smiled to herself. Whatever it was, she decided, it was going to be fun to find out. Zyra had a feeling that her new human classmate was not as simple as she had assumed, and she couldn't wait to see what would happen next. The next morning, the Intergalactic Academy was buzzing with energy. Students from dozens of planets moved quickly through the corridors, their unique features and abilities drawing curious glances. Zyra floated effortlessly beside her friends, her mind still replaying the events of the first day. Ethan, the human, had caught her attention like no one else had before. His calm confidence and quiet skill had surprised her, and she wasn't quite sure how to react. During the morning announcements, the instructor explained that the day's main exercise would be a team challenge. Students would be assigned to groups and asked to complete a complex obstacle course that tested navigation, logic, and adaptability. The goal was simple in theory, but in practice it would push every student to their limits. When the teams were announced, Zyra's eyes immediately found Ethan. He was in her group. She floated closer, unable to resist teasing him again. "Well, human," she said with a smirk. "Looks like we'll be working together. Try not to slow us down too much." Ethan glanced at her calmly and smiled faintly. "I'll do my best," he said. There was no hint of offense in his voice, only quiet determination. Zyra's amusement deepened. He was polite, cautious, and surprisingly composed, all traits she had not expected from a human. Their team included a few other students, a green-skinned alien with 4 arms named Kiro, a tall, crystalline being named Luma, and a small floating orb-like creature called Ven. Each of them had unique skills, and Zyra quickly realized that working together would require strategy and cooperation. The instructor guided the students to the course, which was set in a large zero-gravity chamber filled with holographic obstacles, moving platforms, and floating tools. "Remember," the instructor said, "success depends not just on speed, but also on adaptability, creativity, and teamwork." As the exercise began, Zyra noticed something unusual about Ethan. While the others relied on their physical abilities, using multiple limbs or energy manipulation to move quickly, Ethan studied the course first. He traced the paths in his mind, noticed patterns in the moving obstacles, and calculated precise movements before acting. Zyra raised an eyebrow. "Humans usually panic in situations like this," she muttered under her breath. "But this one, he's different." Ethan started moving carefully, one step at a time, using his hands and feet to push against floating surfaces. He avoided collisions that others struggled with and helped his teammates when they became trapped in difficult positions. Zyra found herself glancing at him more than she wanted to admit. There was a strange kind of strength in the way he handled the challenge, a combination of thoughtfulness and quick adaptation. Halfway through the course, Zyra decided to test him. She floated above him and deliberately moved a platform in his path, expecting him to stumble. Ethan paused, analyzed the new situation, and adjusted his movement smoothly. He didn't panic or complain. He simply adapted. Zyra blinked. She had never seen a human react this way before. "Not bad, human," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Not bad at all." As the exercise continued, the team faced a series of increasingly difficult obstacles. A section required them to manipulate alien technology to open a door, and another forced them to navigate through a swirling field of holographic debris. Zyra's team struggled at first, each member relying too heavily on their natural abilities. Ethan, however, suggested small adjustments and coordinated their efforts in ways that no one had expected. "Try moving in sync," he said, pointing to the floating debris. "If we push together at the same time, we can clear the path faster." Zyra was impressed. She floated closer and joined the effort, noticing how smoothly Ethan's instructions worked. The green-skinned alien Kiro followed his lead, and even Luma adjusted her crystalline limbs to match his timing. Within moments, they cleared the debris with minimal effort. Zyra felt a mixture of surprise and admiration. By the end of the course, Zyra's team had completed it faster than any other group. They were not the fastest initially, but their careful coordination and adaptability had given them the edge. The instructor nodded in approval. "Excellent work. This is a perfect example of using thought and teamwork over raw speed or strength." Zyra floated silently for a moment, her mind replaying the day's events. Ethan, the human, had led them without trying to dominate or boast. His quiet intelligence and calm composure had made the difference. She felt an unexpected sense of respect. During the afternoon free period, Zyra observed Ethan again, this time in the common lounge. He was sitting alone, reading a small book that looked surprisingly ancient. She drifted closer, curiosity getting the better of her. "You really like to study, don't you?" she asked. Ethan looked up and smiled faintly. "I like to understand things," he said simply. Zyra tilted her head. "Most students here don't read books like that. They rely on technology, instincts, or their natural abilities. I like to learn," Ethan replied, closing the book carefully. "I want to understand how things work, not just react to them." Zyra felt a flicker of something she hadn't expected. Admiration mixed with fascination. Humans were supposed to be weak, slow, and unremarkable. Yet this human boy had something special. He thought differently, acted carefully, and inspired others without trying. She floated beside him silently for a few moments, unsure of what to say next. Then, in a playful tone, she asked, "So, do you always surprise everyone like this, or is it just a human thing?" Ethan chuckled softly. "I guess I just try to do my best." Zyra smiled, realizing that his best was far more impressive than she had anticipated. She felt a strange mix of respect and curiosity. Maybe humans were not as simple as she had believed. Later that evening, the Academy's instructors held a brief discussion about the day's exercise. Zyra overheard some students quietly talking about Ethan. "Did you see how he coordinated everyone?" One alien whispered. "I've never seen a human do that before." "Humans are fragile," another replied. "But he's different." Zyra's heart raced slightly. She had thought she was the one noticing his unusual skills, but now it seemed others did too. Her teasing earlier in the day felt a little silly in hindsight. She had expected him to fail or falter, and instead he had excelled quietly without seeking attention or praise. Back in her quarters, Zyra reflected on the day. She usually enjoyed teasing others, feeling superior to those she considered weaker or slower. But Ethan had changed something. He wasn't flashy or loud, but he was capable, clever, and steady. She realized that teasing him might not be as easy or as fun as she had thought. That night, she couldn't stop thinking about him. His calm demeanor, his careful thought, and his quiet leadership were qualities she had never encountered before in any student at the Academy. She floated to her window and looked out at the stars, wondering how such a human could exist in a world of beings so advanced and powerful. Zyra smiled to herself. She decided that she would continue to challenge him, but not just for fun. She wanted to see how far he could go, to understand what made him different. For the first time in her life, she felt a mix of excitement and respect for another student, a human no less. The next day promised new challenges, and Zyra knew she would be watching Ethan closely. She was curious, intrigued, and more than a little competitive. Humans were supposed to be weak, but Ethan had already proven that he was anything but. Zyra couldn't wait to see what he would do next, and she felt a spark of anticipation that made the academy feel more alive than ever before. She didn't realize it yet, but Ethan's quiet strength and clever thinking would soon change more than just her opinion. It would challenge the expectations of everyone at the academy, including her own. And Zyra, who had begun the day thinking she was the clever one, was about to learn that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. The day began quietly for Zyra, but she could feel the energy of the academy buzzing around her. Something about Ethan continued to occupy her thoughts. He moved among the students with quiet confidence, solving problems, helping others, and staying calm in situations where most beings would panic. Zyra had always prided herself on being clever, fast, and confident, but Ethan made her realize that she had never truly understood what strength could look like in someone so calm and quiet. She decided she wanted to know more about him. It wasn't enough to observe him in class or on the training grounds. Zyra had a feeling that there was more to Ethan than met the eye. He seemed different. Not just clever, not just patient, but somehow extraordinary in a way that she could not explain. Later that evening, after classes and exercises were finished, Zyra floated through the quiet corridors, her curiosity guiding her. She had heard rumors of a secret practice room on the lower deck, a place where some students trained their personal skills away from observation. Something told her that Ethan might be there. She moved silently, following faint energy readings that led her to a dimly lit chamber. The door was slightly open, and inside she saw Ethan. He was standing on a small platform, practicing movements that were unusual for a human. His hands and feet moved with precision, almost like a dance, but there was power and control in every step. Zyra could see that this was no ordinary practice. She leaned against the doorway, watching silently. Ethan did not notice her at first. His focus was absolute. He moved as though he was connected to the air around him, adjusting his balance and timing in ways that no normal human could. Zyra's mind raced. This explained why he had been so capable during the course exercises. He had been trained, but not in the ways most students here thought of training. Finally, Ethan stopped and turned as if sensing someone's presence. He smiled faintly when he saw Zyra. "I didn't hear you come in," he said. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "I wasn't trying to intrude," Zyra replied, floating into the room. "I just wanted to see what you were doing." She could feel her usual teasing instincts rising, but they were mixed with something new: curiosity, respect, even a hint of awe. Ethan nodded. "I like to practice skills that help me think and move carefully," he explained. "It's something I learned a long time ago." Zyra tilted her head. "A long time ago? You don't look that old." "I'm not," Ethan said with a small smile. "But my family has always taught me that humans can achieve more if we practice, observe, and adapt. Even when things seem impossible, we find a way." Zyra's eyes widened slightly. She had expected a normal human, limited and fragile, but Ethan's calm confidence combined with his precise training revealed something much deeper. Humans, she realized, were capable of more than she had been told. "Your family? What do you mean?" she asked, genuinely curious now. Ethan took a step closer to the center of the chamber, his posture relaxed but commanding. "My ancestors were explorers, diplomats, and thinkers. Long ago, humans traveled far across the stars, learning, observing, and leaving hidden marks of their presence. We were small in number, but clever and adaptable. My family carries that legacy. We trained to survive, to think ahead, to face challenges others might fail at." Zyra floated silently, her mind struggling to keep up. The humans she had known, or thought she knew, were fragile and limited. And yet here was Ethan, embodying centuries of careful training, intelligence, and adaptability. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. "So, that's why you were so good today," she said slowly. "You weren't just lucky. You were trained," Ethan smiled faintly. "I've had guidance. But it's not just training. Humans have a way of thinking that sometimes surprises others. We see solutions differently, notice patterns, and adapt in ways that even advanced beings struggle with." Zyra's curiosity turned into fascination. She had teased him, thinking he would be weak, slow, or clumsy. Instead, he had proven that humans were clever, resilient, and capable of surprising even the most advanced students. She realized that her teasing had been based on ignorance, not observation. "Can you teach me some of what you know?" Zyra asked hesitantly. She wasn't used to asking for help, and certainly not from someone she had teased. Yet something about Ethan's calm and patient presence made her feel safe and intrigued. Ethan considered her for a moment, then nodded. "I can show you some exercises, but they require patience. And you have to focus, not just follow instructions." Zyra grinned. "I can do patience," she said lightly, though she knew it would be a challenge. The rest of the evening passed in quiet training. Ethan guided her through exercises that improved balance, focus, and timing. He explained not just the movements but the reasoning behind each one, teaching her to observe carefully, anticipate changes, and adapt. Zyra quickly realized that this was more than physical training. It was mental as well. Humans, she thought, were truly clever in ways she had never understood. As the session ended, Zyra floated back to her quarters, her mind buzzing with thoughts. She had begun the day thinking Ethan was a simple, fragile human. By the end, she had seen his skill, patience, and intelligence. She couldn't deny that humans might be underestimated across the galaxy. The next day, Zyra watched him interact with other students in class. The teasing, playful persona she had shown before was gone. She observed quietly, noting how Ethan helped his peers, offered solutions to complex problems, and remained calm even under pressure. She realized that his abilities were not just physical or mental. They were a combination of both, enhanced by careful observation, practice, and human adaptability. Her admiration for him grew, though she still couldn't resist a little playful teasing now and then. It was part of her nature, after all. But the teasing had changed. It was no longer about mocking him. It was about challenging him, testing his abilities, and learning from him. Zyra felt a strange thrill at the thought that she might be learning from a human, a species she had once thought weak and simple. By mid-afternoon, Zyra could no longer ignore her curiosity. She floated beside Ethan during a break and asked, "Do you ever feel different from everyone else here?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Sometimes. But I've learned that being different can be a strength, not a weakness. Humans have survived, adapted, and thrived because we think, observe, and adjust. That's why I don't worry about fitting in. I focus on learning and improving." Zyra nodded slowly. She realized that this human had qualities that she had never valued before: patience, observation, clever thinking, and quiet confidence. He didn't need flashy abilities or instant success. He relied on his mind and his training, and that was enough to surpass expectations. As the sun, or its equivalent in the Academy's orbit, began to set, Zyra reflected on what she had learned. Humans were not fragile, not simple, not unremarkable. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of incredible things when guided by knowledge and patience. Ethan was proof of that, and she felt both admiration and a little envy for his calm, steady skill. She smiled to herself, realizing that her teasing had not only failed, but had opened a door. She wanted to know more about humans, more about Ethan, and more about the hidden potential that even she had underestimated. For the first time, she felt genuinely curious about a classmate, not just for amusement but for understanding. That night, as she lay in her quarters, Zyra thought about what tomorrow might bring. She knew that Ethan's abilities would continue to surprise her and others. She also knew that her own teasing and mischief had shifted into something new: respect, curiosity, and a desire to learn from him. Humans, she realized, were far more than their reputation suggested, and Ethan was living proof. Zyra drifted off to sleep with a sense of anticipation. She didn't yet know how far Ethan's skills would take him, or what secrets he might reveal next, but she knew one thing for certain: the quiet, calm human in her class was no ordinary student, and the lessons she would learn from him were only beginning. The stars outside her window twinkled softly, and Zyra felt a thrill at the thought of discovering what lay ahead. She had underestimated humans, and now she was eager to see just how extraordinary they could be. The morning started with a quiet tension in the air. The Intergalactic Academy was normally full of chatter, laughter, and movement, but today the students sensed something unusual. Rumors had spread overnight about a malfunction in one of the Academy's central AI systems. This AI controlled the station's environmental controls, navigation modules, and training simulations. If the system failed completely, it could endanger everyone on the station. Zira floated along the corridor, her thoughts racing. She had seen humans underestimate themselves in her world before, but Ethan was not like that. She knew he could handle challenges differently, using his mind and careful thinking rather than relying on flashy abilities. Today, she hoped to see just how capable he truly was. When the instructors called an emergency meeting, the students gathered quickly. The head instructor, a tall being with shimmering wings, addressed the group. The AI controlling the station has malfunctioned. Its systems are unstable. We need volunteers to help stabilize it before damage occurs. This is a test of skill, creativity, and calm thinking under pressure. Students looked around nervously. Many relied entirely on their abilities or their technological advantages. They hesitated, unsure of how to proceed. Zyra's eyes immediately found Ethan. He was standing calmly, scanning the display screens with quiet focus. He didn't panic. He didn't hesitate. He simply began observing. "Ethan," Zyra whispered, floating closer. "Are you really going to do this?" "I have to try," he replied simply. His calm tone was reassuring. "If we panic, it won't help anyone." The group was divided into teams, and Zyra found herself working closely with Ethan again. The task was complicated. The AI system had locked parts of the station, disabled environmental controls, and created false sensor readings. The instructors warned that failure could cause serious accidents. Most students approached the task with speed, using brute force or alien abilities, but Ethan stepped back. He studied the system, analyzed the data, and noticed inconsistencies that others ignored. "Look at the sequence of errors," he said quietly, pointing at the holographic display. "The system is reacting differently because the AI is confused by overlapping commands. If we isolate the commands and reset them in order, we can stabilize the modules." Zyra watched him in awe. She had teased him, doubted him, and underestimated him, but now she realized how much human ingenuity could shine in moments like this. Humans, she thought, might not have natural powers or advanced physical abilities, but they had something else: cleverness, patience, and the ability to see solutions differently. The team began to follow Ethan's instructions. He coordinated their efforts calmly, explaining each step and predicting potential problems before they happened. Zyra assisted, feeling a thrill at how smoothly the plan worked. Other students started noticing as well, asking questions and following their lead. Minutes passed, and the tension in the room grew. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and some students began to panic. Zyra felt her own heart race, but she stayed focused, trusting Ethan's calm guidance. Slowly, carefully, they isolated the faulty commands, inputting corrections and monitoring the AI's response. "Steady," Ethan said, his voice calm. "We're almost there. Watch the energy flow. Adjust it slightly to prevent overload." Zyra followed his instructions precisely. The other students, who had relied on instinct and power, struggled to keep up. Ethan's ability to think ahead, anticipate problems, and adjust on the fly was incredible. She realized that his human training, patience, and observation skills were far more powerful than most alien abilities in situations like this. Finally, with a soft hum, the AI stabilized. Lights returned to normal, alarms stopped, and the station systems resumed proper function. There was a moment of stunned silence, followed by cheers from students and instructors alike. Ethan's team had succeeded where others had nearly failed. Zyra floated beside him, feeling a mix of pride and relief. "You did it," she said softly. Ethan smiled faintly. "We did it together," he said. His humility surprised her. He hadn't acted alone to show off. He had guided them carefully, shared responsibility, and made sure everyone could contribute. The instructors approached, nodding in approval. "Excellent work," the head instructor said. "You have demonstrated not only skill but leadership, creativity, and calm thinking under pressure. This is the true mark of a capable student." Zyra felt a rush of admiration. She had doubted him, teased him, and underestimated him. Now she realized that humans were extraordinary in ways she had never fully understood. Ethan had proven that cleverness, patience, and adaptability could surpass natural powers and technology. After the emergency was over, students gathered in the common lounge. Many came up to Ethan to congratulate him, some asking how he had thought so clearly under pressure. Zyra, floating beside him, couldn't resist teasing lightly. But now it was different. "So human," she said with a grin. "Turns out you're not just lucky." You actually saved the station. Ethan chuckled softly. I had help, he said, gesturing to the team. Everyone did their part. Zira shook her head, smiling. You guided them. You thought faster and calmer than anyone else. I've never seen anything like it. He smiled faintly, humility in his expression. Humans have to adapt. We survive by thinking and observing. That's what we do best. Zira nodded slowly. She realized that she had learned something important today. Not just about humans, but about herself. She had thought she was clever, fast, and strong. But Ethan had shown her a different kind of strength. Humans could succeed not through raw power, but through intelligence, patience, and adaptability. As the evening fell, Zira and Ethan walked together through the quiet corridors. The stars outside the windows twinkled, reflecting in their eyes. Zira felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of admiration and friendship. She had started the semester teasing him, seeing him as weak and unremarkable, but now she saw him as someone extraordinary. Ethan, she said softly, I underestimated you. I teased you because I thought humans were weak. But now I see that I was wrong. You're incredible. Ethan looked at her with quiet understanding. Thank you, Zira. I don't want praise. I just try to do my best. Zira smiled, feeling something shift inside her. She realized that true strength was not about showing off, winning, or being flashy. It was about thinking clearly, helping others, and adapting to challenges. Humans, she now understood, had a gift that was rare even among the most advanced civilizations. The next day, Zira and Ethan were paired for another training exercise. This time, Zira didn't tease him in the same way. Instead, she observed him, learning from his calm confidence, careful thinking, and clever problem-solving. She asked questions, followed his instructions, and even tried to anticipate problems the way he did. For the first time, she felt like a student alongside him, not a competitor. Their partnership soon became the talk of the academy. Other students began to notice how humans could offer unique insights, and Zira took pride in showing them that she had been wrong to underestimate Ethan. He had not only earned her respect, but had changed the way everyone viewed humans. Over the next few weeks, Zira continued to train with him. She learned patience, careful observation, and the value of thinking ahead. In return, she offered him her own skills, speed, agility, and quick reflexes, showing that combining human cleverness with alien abilities could achieve incredible results. By the end of the term, Zira realized that her teasing had transformed into friendship. She no longer saw Ethan as someone to mock or challenge for amusement. She saw him as an equal, a teacher in his own way, and a reminder that humans were extraordinary in ways the galaxy often overlooked. One evening, as they watched the stars together from the Academy's observation deck, Zira turned to Ethan. You know, she said quietly, I think humans might be the most interesting species I've ever met. Ethan smiled softly, looking out at the endless expanse of space. We have to be. We survive, adapt, and learn. That's what makes us human. Zira nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest. She had started the semester thinking humans were fragile and simple, but Ethan had shown her the truth. Humans could face any challenge, adapt in ways others could not, and inspire even the most advanced civilizations. She realized that humans were not just remarkable, they were extraordinary. And in that moment, Zira understood something else. Teasing, joking, and underestimating someone could never reveal the true strength hidden within. Only respect, observation, and a willingness to learn could uncover it. Ethan had proven that humans were more than what anyone expected, and Zira knew that the lessons she had learned from him would stay with her for the rest of her life. The stars shimmered in the distance, and Zira felt a thrill at the thought of what humans could accomplish. With patience, intelligence, and adaptability, they could face any challenge, even those the galaxy had never seen before. And she was proud to call one of them her friend.